From the fantasy armchair, it is the Fantasy TyRant.
Hey there, fellow fantasy football freaks. Welcome back to the fantasy armchair. Did you miss me? Hey, it's only been like 6 months, but it feels like 6 years, right? So much has changed in the world, in the NFL, on my head. New season, new look, new beer. Anyway, like I told you all a while ago, this show is going to need a few things to be able to take it to the next level. To skyrocket this show to the moon. New equipment, a crew, a lot of backing money, that kind of thing. I'm working on it, little by little. I'm gathering everything I need. I got myself a new microphone, hope I sound better now. I'll be working on a new logo, new intro voice, new intro. Lots of stuff as the season progresses into the next season. I'm also going to be moving my house and the show to a new location, Las Vegas, Nevada. That's right, the bright lights of Sin City. I'll be closer to a lot more people and opportunities that are going to help take this show to the next level. I got to do what I got to do to make this really take off. So hopefully by next season, or if not, the season after, I'll be back every day, every week of every NFL season, giving you the best fantasy football advice on the whole damn planet. Alright, at least the most entertaining fantasy advice. Now, my accuracy is pretty top-notch as well. You know, I have a pretty good track record. In the meantime, even though my computer's been running in the ground like the Hawk Tuah meme, and probably the Hawk Tuah girl herself, I'll still be releasing content every week from here on out. I'm going to be doing 1 or 2 episodes per week leading up to the start of the NFL season. But to start off the new season of the Fantasy TyRant, you may as well call me the Tyrannical Teabagger, because I got a couple big ones dropping on you at once. Takes me back to the days of my first apartment. Yeah. Anyway, I got my top 3 sleeper running backs and my top 3 running back busts. First, I'm going to give you those sleepers, and then in a little bit, you'll see the busts. And then next week, I'll do the same with the wide receivers. Then the quarterbacks, then the tight ends, you know. Plus, every now and again, I'll be on Saturday mornings answering your questions for your draft. Be it redraft, keeper, dynasty, guillotine, you name it. I've got all the information that's been cooking up in this head, and I'm going to give it to you. And like I said, I'm going to start off with my top 3 sleepers at the running back position. But before I do that, will you do me a big favor? Will you hit that like button? Share, subscribe, hit the notifications bell so you never miss an episode. All of that helps this channel grow. And that way, other fantasy football freaks such as yourself can get the best fantasy advice on the planet. Also, check out in the description you'll find a link to the Fantasy Kingdom page, as well as the Fantasy TyRant Facebook page. Sign up on both of them to give you more access to a fantasy community where we all help each other out. And if you want one-on-one fantasy advice, weekly rankings, and bonus content no one else is going to see, hey, sign up with me on Patreon. The link is also there in the description. And for as little as $5 a month, that's less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks. You're going to get something worth way more than that. Yeah. All the advice and all the information that you're going to need to crush your league. But anyway, enough of the bullshit. Let's get to the reason you're here. The sleepers. Yeah, those under-the-radar guys that end up winning people championships year after year. The guys in the later rounds that your friends are laughing like, who the fuck is that guy? Oh, what are you doing picking this dude? But at the end of the season, they're helping you win the big one, and then you're the one laughing all the way to the bank. Now in some leagues, some of these guys may not even get drafted, leaving managers to scramble for them on the waiver wire. But while your league mates are scrambling looking for these guys, they're going to find them on your team if you listen up. I'm going to make sure you already have those waiver wire darlings, while you make the rest of the chumps in your league look more dumbfounded than Joe Biden. Yeah, don't worry. I'll get the other guy too. So take notes, fantasy freaks, because if you draft these guys in the later rounds, I guarantee you won't miss. See? Told you. Starting off with the guy I was talking about as a possible double deep danger dive and a waiver wire stash last season. But now, he's moved up to my top running back sleeper for 2024. And that's the Saints running back, Kendre Miller. Now last season, he had some injury issues that held him back. But this season, if things go right for him, he could be a breakout star, so long as he keeps the injury bug off his ass. Yeah, we've only seen him in 8 games, but in those 8 games, we've gotten a glimpse of what he can do. He had a 24% missed tackle rate, and averaged a little over 3 yards after contact. His snap percentage was held down, but when he did see the field a significant amount, he produced. His highest snap percentage was 36%, and that was in the last game of the season against the Falcons. And no surprise here, he had his best fantasy day with 13.6 fantasy points, coming off of 73 yards rushing and a touchdown on 13 attempts, averaging 5.6 yards per attempt. With the injuries behind him and another training camp and preseason under his belt, I think Miller could see his snap percentage rise to close to 50%. And if he can capitalize on those opportunities, we can see a split between him and Alvin Kamara sooner than later. Currently sitting as a 13th round pick and the 43rd running back off the board, I definitely see Miller far outperforming his ADP. And if something were to happen to Kamara, he could easily be a top 20 running back every week, and maybe even flirt with top 10 running back numbers in good matchups. The Saints have the easiest schedule for running backs from a fantasy standpoint, so if he can garner a significant workload, it could pay off in spades. The coaching staff loves this guy, and he's got the talent, so things should open up for him this season. If things break right, he could be this year's Kyren Williams, so even if you have to reach for him at round 11 or 12, he could be a steal. Go get him. Now, of course, like clockwork, Miller goes ahead and pulls her hammy while I'm editing this episode. Now, is this guy injury prone? He might be, but he's still young, so let's see how he bounces back from this hammy. But if he starts the year healthy and can maintain that health throughout the season, you could have a league winner right here. Next up, I've got a projected starting running back on a top 5 rated offense in the NFL who's currently going in the 14th round as the 45th running back off the board. What are you all, goofballs? I'm of course talking about Rico Dowdle. Yeah, he has to fend off the return of the aging Zeke Elliott for the top spot at running back, and despite seeing some sparks of talent from him last season, we haven't really seen much from him, and nothing in a starting capacity. But there's a one-word reason for why Rico is guaranteed to return investment and then some on his ADP. Volume! And if he gets the lion's share of the touches in that backfield, he's looking at about 15 plus touches per game. With that kind of volume in a high-scoring offense, Rico can easily be an RB2 at an RB4 price. He only had double-digit carries twice last season, and those were the 2 games in which he scored his only 2 touchdowns of the season. And in one of those games, he had his overall best performance, going for 79 yards and a touchdown on 12 carries against the Giants in Week 10. So he's shown us that he can produce when given the opportunity. No, his stats don't fly off the page, but it doesn't matter when he's getting volume in a prolific offense. Volume is like the housewife you settle down with. No, it's not the sexiest thing, but it's solid and there for you when nothing else is. It's wholesome and reliable. No, it's not flashy like a 4.4 40 or sexy like a catch and run specialist, but at the end of the day, it'll wash your underwear, give your hair a trim, and get you a decent amount of fantasy points. Just enough to where you aren't busting a nut over it, but you aren't throwing a fit either. Oh what, the ex is back in town and that starts to conjure up some old feelings? Come on man, you know that's not gonna end well. It always starts off hot at first, and then you think things have rekindled, but then it burns out quickly, and then you've got no one to come home to. But you know who's always waiting at home with a smile and a warm supper on the table for you? That's right, good old Volume. And his name in this weird analogy is Rico Dowdle. Milquetoast and boring, but gets the job done. Of course someone new could come along, like if Dallas makes a trade or picks up someone who gets cut, and then you're already committed to the volume that is Rico Dowdle. In that scenario, you could be kicking yourself for not chasing your heart. But that remains to be seen for now. I'll take the old reliable Volume to produce far above his ADP. You can probably get him in round 12. Now this is all based on Rico being the starting back for the Cowboys. Even if he's given up the top spot to Zeke at first, he'll end up with that role eventually. However, Dallas could still pick up another running back, or maybe Zeke blows up for a swan song year. I think what's really going to happen is that it's going to be like a 60-40 split with Zeke getting most of it at first, and then that shifts partway through the season. As a result, I think Rico will end up at the top 40, maybe even top 30 among running backs in fantasy. Or even better, if he takes over completely, or maybe Zeke gets injured. We don't want that to happen, but hey, it happens. And finally, I'm headed to the rookie pool, where what do I see swimming around but a duck? An Oregon duck, that is. Yeah, I'm talking about Buky Irving. Tampa Bay showed last season that they have enough talent on either side of the ball to compete on a high level in the NFL, winning the NFC South in their first season of the post-Tom Brady era. With a lot of the same pieces coming back after a full season and a second offseason together, this team could be headed to the playoffs yet again. What a great landing spot for Buky Irving, who will likely win the backup role behind Rachaad White. White has served well as a running back for both the Bucs and for fantasy managers, but in today's NFL, teams go through running backs like this summer has been going through celebrities. Like, damn, chill the fuck out already. White has been a middling RB2 at best, and if Bucky can carve out any kind of role, he could give Rachaad a run for his money. But probably more relevant to this season anyway is the fact that Buky Irving makes his living as a pass-catching running back. In fact, in 2023, he had more receptions than any other running back in college football, hauling in 56 passes for 413 yards. His skill set suggested he'll fit in as a third down back for the Bucs. Last season, Tampa Bay attempted the 6th most third downs in the league, and Rachaad White was second only to Christian McCaffrey in running back receptions. But Coach Bowles said that they wanted to lessen White's workload in the passing game this season. See where I'm going with this? It's a perfect situation for Irving. I don't think it'll be a full-blown committee just yet, but he will certainly be taking a lot of those receptions away from White on third downs. One of the reasons why I'm a little bit down on White this season. And if Bucky can capitalize on these touches, he could eat up more of White's production. I'm not saying he's going to be someone you start every week, at least not at first, but he's currently going in the 17th round, undrafted in some drafts, as the 57th running back coming off the board. I think he'll far surpass this, maybe even break into the top 35. You don't have to reach for him, just take him the round before you take your kicker, and by that, I mean the last round.
So there you go. Now go shock your leagues to the core with your newly obtained savvy. If you want to do that all season, get your one-on-one fantasy advice, bonus content, and my weekly rankings. Sign up with me on Patreon, link in the description. Now the next episode is dropping here in the next hour or so. Probably by the time you've seen this, it's already there, so look for it. And I'll be taking the fantasy armchair back out on the road as I'm going to be heading to Philadelphia. Now I heard about this Irish bar there. People are saying I need to check it out. I think it's called Patty's Pub, something like that. Anyway, should be fun. But anyway, yeah, it's going to be another killer episode as I burst your bubbles on some players that I think will disappoint us as much as Tom Crooks disappointed Kyle Gass. So look out for that, dropping here pretty soon. And as always, I thank you all so much for your support, for liking, sharing, and subscribing. And hey, come be a part of the Fantasy Kingdom. The link is right down there in the description. Come help build the biggest and best fantasy community on the planet. Now I'll be back a little later with my running back bus. Until then, I'm out. Peace.